Swedish researchers tracked thousands of men for 20 years after their divorces. Not 5 years, not 10, 20. They wanted to answer one question. Does getting remarried fix the depression? The men who remarried were 27% more likely to be treated for depression than the men who stayed single. Let that land for a second. The men who did the thing everyone tells you to do, get back out there, find someone new, ended up worse. And here's the part that makes this hard to dismiss. The remarried group had more money and more social stability than the divorced group. They weren't struggling financially, they weren't isolated. By every external measure, they were doing better. And yet, the depression numbers were worse. Something about rushing back in made things measurably worse. The author's conclusion, published in Social Science and Medicine, interpersonal or financial difficulties resulting from remarriage can outweigh the benefits of marriage. Now, this doesn't mean remarriage is always bad. Plenty of second marriages work. But this study controlled for income, education, and social support, and still found the gap. 20 years of data, thousands of men. And the guys who waited came out ahead on the metric that actually matters, how they felt. Most men here get back out there from every friend, every family member, every well-meaning coworker, and the data says that advice given too early is actively harmful. That's the starting point. Now here's why it happens. A 2021 study in the Journal of Social Psychology compared rebound relationships to non-rebounds over their first year. Rebounds failed at 85%, non-rebounds 45%, nearly double the failure rate, not a marginal difference. A completely different category of risk. This isn't like comparing a 70% chance to a 75% chance. This is the difference between a coin flip and a near certainty. If someone told you a business had an 85% failure rate, you wouldn't invest. But when it comes to relationships, people routinely ignore odds they'd never accept anywhere else. And the timeline is brutal. 40% of rebounds collapse within 3 months, 70% within a year. The average rebound lasts 4.2 months. 32% of people enter a rebound within 2 weeks of the breakup. Not 2 weeks of casual dates, not 2 weeks of exploring options, 2 weeks from the end of a marriage to being someone's partner again. And 58% of adults admit they've been in at least one rebound relationship. This isn't a rare phenomenon that happens to reckless people. It's the default. It's what most people do. And it maps to what researchers call the crisis and recovery model. After a divorce, well-being doesn't decline and stay flat. It crashes hard, then slowly, unevenly, curves back. There are good weeks and bad weeks. Progress isn't linear. But somewhere between month 2 and month 8, most men hit a window where they feel substantially better than month 0. That window is deceptive. They mistake that relative improvement for readiness. The pain is duller, the mornings are easier, and they think the worst is behind them. They're not recovered. They're just no longer in free fall. And the brain, which is very good at pattern matching and very bad at self-assessment, tells them the hard part is over. It's not. And that window, that exact stretch of months where things feel manageable again, is where most rebounds start. Not from a place of strength, from a place of relief. Here's a stat that doesn't get enough attention. 60% of people who go through a rebound report feeling regret within 3 months. Not years later, looking back with the benefit of hindsight, 3 months in. And it's not just emotional. 35% report that the rebound actively worsened their mental health. Higher anxiety, deeper depression, worse than where they started. The rebound didn't just fail to help, it set them back. 22% of people who rebound end up attempting reconciliation with their ex within 6 months. Not because they want their ex back. Not really, because the rebound recalibrated their expectations. The new person made the old person look better by comparison. The problems that felt unbearable in the marriage suddenly seemed manageable next to the emptiness of a relationship that was never built on anything real. And a longitudinal study found that rebounders are 25% less likely to form secure attachments in their next relationship, the one after the rebound. Not the rebound itself, the relationship after that. The damage carries forward into the one you actually care about. So this isn't just about one bad relationship. It's about what that relationship does to every relationship that follows it. The rebound doesn't just cost 4 months. It costs credibility with yourself, with your next partner, and with the people around you who watched it happen. By the time a man hits 40, 1 in 5 of his peers has already been married at least twice. Half the weddings happening in any given year involve someone who's done this before. And men get there faster, remarrying in an average of 3 years versus 5 for women. But faster doesn't mean better. A decade in review study in the Journal of Marriage and Family confirmed what smaller studies had been showing for years. Remarriages are consistently less stable than first marriages, and here's what makes that finding so stubborn. The remarriage rate has actually been falling for decades, 50 per thousand in 1960, 28 per thousand by 2016. fewer people are doing it. The ones who still choose to remarry are, on average, more deliberate about it than previous generations. They're more educated, they have more resources, they've seen more divorce around them, and even they can't outrun the fundamentals. The Hiyoshi study makes the mechanism clear, blending two post-divorce lives, custody logistics, financial entanglement, step-parenting dynamics, introduces a new layer of stress at the exact moment a man is least equipped to handle it. The structural problems of the new relationship stack on top of the unresolved problems from the old one. Think about what that means. A man goes through a divorce. He's dealing with custody schedules, splitting assets, maybe selling a house. His identity is shifting. His social circle is reorganizing. And into that, at that exact moment, he introduces a new person with their own kids, their own ex, their own baggage, their own expectations. It's not that remarriage is bad. It's that remarriage before recovery is a fundamentally different proposition than remarriage after it. And most men can't tell the difference from the inside. The confidence feels real, the certainty feels earned, but the data says otherwise. When a man's ex-wife starts dating someone new, something measurable happens. His own probability of jumping into a relationship spikes, not gradually, sharply. Dutch researchers analyzed the entire population registry of the Netherlands, not a sample, the entire country. Millions of divorce records, and they found this pattern consistently. When a former spouse enters a new relationship, the other person's likelihood of repartnering increases sharply within 2 years. It's not romance, it's social comparison theory, first described by Leon Festinger in 1954. Your ex becomes a benchmark. If she's moved on, something in the brain recalculates where you should be. It's competitive, not romantic, and this benchmark doesn't fade quickly. 70% of former spouses with children are still in contact after 10 years. Even without children, 40% maintain some form of contact. Social media makes it worse. You don't need to talk to your ex to know what they're doing. One photo of her at dinner with someone new and the algorithm delivers it straight to your feed. You didn't ask for it, you didn't go looking, but now it's in your head and it's doing work. So when a man decides he's ready to date 3 months after his divorce, the question worth asking is whether that's a genuine internal signal or whether it's a reaction to information about someone else's life. Because from the inside, those two things feel identical. The urgency is real either way. The desire is real either way. But one leads to a relationship built on something, and the other leads to a relationship built on not wanting to be the one left behind. 45% of rebounds begin because of social pressure, from friends, from family, or from the quiet awareness that an ex has moved on. Nearly half. That's not a decision, that's a reflex, and here's the uncomfortable part. Most men won't admit this is what's happening. They'll say they met someone great, they'll say the timing just worked out. But if you gave them a polygraph and asked, would you be dating right now if your ex were still single? The numbers say almost half of them would fail it. 4 questions separate genuine readiness from reactive urgency. Miss even one and the data says the odds shift against you. 1. Can you spend a Friday night alone without anxiety? Not without doing anything, without needing to. If a quiet evening feels like a crisis, that's data about where recovery actually stands. Loneliness is information, it's not an emergency. 2. Are you dating toward someone or away from something? Toward means attraction to a specific person's qualities, who they are, how they think, what they value. Away means any warm body that makes the silence stop. Most rebounds are away relationships wearing toward costumes, and both people can feel the difference even if neither says it out loud. 3. If your ex started a new relationship tomorrow, would it change your timeline? If yes, that's the contagion effect from earlier. Readiness that depends on someone else's behavior isn't readiness, it's reactivity. 4. Have you built an identity that isn't someone's husband? Men who lose the role of husband and don't replace it with something, a craft, a community, a purpose, are the most vulnerable to rebound behavior. They're not looking for a partner, they're looking for a role, and that's a fundamentally different search. 4 boxes, all checked. Date with confidence. You've done the work. The recovery curve has run long enough to trust it. Even 1 unchecked. And the data says the odds shift. That's not a judgment. That's not someone telling you to be alone forever. That's just math. And unlike most relationship advice, math doesn't care about your feelings. It just reports the results. The rebound trap is not a moral failure. It's a pattern. Predictable, measurable, and survivable. 60% of people who go through one report regret. But that doesn't mean the experience was pointless. Sometimes the only way to learn what you're not ready for is to discover it firsthand. 18% of rebound relationships eventually become marriages. They exist, but they're the exception, not the model. The 82% that end aren't proof that someone is broken. They're proof that the recovery curve is still running. And recovery isn't linear. It never has been. The men who come out of this well aren't the ones who avoided the rebound entirely. They're the ones who recognized it for what it was, learned from it, and didn't repeat the pattern. The error margin on this decision is knowable, the math is clear, and the framework exists. You just have to be willing to use it, even when every instinct says to skip ahead. The full readiness framework, the extended checklist, recovery timeline benchmarks, and the complete research bibliography is in the newsletter. Link in the description. First issue is free. If this changed how you think about the timeline, subscribe. Every issue is built like this one. Data first, framework second, opinions never. Next, the math behind dating apps, and why the strategy most men use is almost perfectly wrong.